What's going on, fellow fantasy basketball lovers? Thank you for joining us today on Fantasy Basketball this week. If you're a returning subscriber, it's great to see you again. If you're new here, which 60% of you are, according to our YouTube statistics, make sure you click that subscribe button, hit that like button, and comment down below. We love to talk to our fans. Let's get right into business. We gotta move into the juiciest of the juiciest. This is where I finish so strong, Carl.
No.
Oh no, I won't do that every week. I just had to bring it back from last week. I'll actually start us off this time. My waiver wire guy, our waiver wire picks of the week. First one, Wayne Ellington. Wayne Ellington has secured his 9th straight start with the Detroit Pistons. In his last couple of games, his last 4 games, 37 fantasy points, 36, 32, and 30. Now, I'm usually not very high on people that get a lot of their production from solely points. But Wayne Ellington has proven that he can continue to score for the Detroit Pistons, and he's actually probably the second scoring option behind Jeremy Grant. So Wayne Ellington, he's played big minutes in the last couple of games, 28, 33, 33, 29. So he's playing starters minutes. He's not just out there to fill a spot to start the game. He's playing starter minutes, and he's getting buckets, 17, 20, 17, and 20 in his last 4 games. Not a lot of turnovers. They got D Rose for that. He'll handle all the turnovers. But Wayne Ellington has been hooping. He's only owned in 32% of ESPN leagues. He is shooting a remarkable 60% from 3 in this last stretch of his. And I'm personally buying Wayne Ellington. He's got 4 games coming up in the next week, which makes him a favorable streamer pickup. He plays against Denver and Utah, who are Denver's a decent defensive team, and then Utah, they got some defensive aspects in Rudy Gobert, but then they play Phoenix and the Lakers. So although they have some tough matchups, they play 4 games, and that's what you're looking for when you're getting a streamer. So my first pick, Wayne Ellington. My next pick, Reggie Jackson.
Bobby
Paul George
himself.
Yep. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are out with COVID protocols. Nicholas Batum is not picking up the slack. Patrick Beverley is unavailable because of his knee. Reggie Jackson is getting minutes. In his last 4, he played 20 minutes, not very good, but 39, 37, and 25. In the last 4 games, he has 14 fantasy points, then 53, 33, and 29. He's getting a lot of rebounds and a lot of assists. And if you're watching the game, he's making tough buckets. He's not getting those scrub buckets that a lot of these guys get. He's getting tough buckets for the Clippers. So Reggie Jackson is a guy that I'm picking up off the waivers this coming week. Trying to figure out how many games to play. We're recording this on the wrong day, so everything's messed up. But I know he plays at least 3 games. Let me find out for sure. But he plays against Brooklyn, Cleveland, and Boston in the coming week at least. Carl, how do you feel about Reggie Jackson?
Reggie Jackson, I'm always kind of iffy on Reggie Jackson. I'm also kind of biased because there was a John Wall, Reggie Jackson beef at one point back in the day. So, from everything you said, I think he's a good fringe candidate to pick up. I'm just not too sure with the way that team is. He should pick up a lot of that production that's left with the guys that are missing. So I'm all aboard with you on fantasy aspects for him.
Yeah, and I've looked it up. He plays 4 games next week. The Nets, the Cavs, the Clippers, or not the Clippers, the Celtics, and the Kings. Okay. So he's got a couple favorable matchups in there. The Celtics do not allow a lot of points to point guards. Peyton Pritchard locking it down out there. He should be returning soon. I think he was actually available in the last game. So, but the Cavs, Colin Sexton, decent defender, whatever. I'm not too worried about him.
Reggie Jackson.
That's Kyrie, James Harden. They don't defend anything. And then the Kings, De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton are probably the guys you got to look out for. But once again, not incredible defenders. Pretty quick, De'Aaron Fox at least. So I'm picking up Reggie Jackson if he's available in my league, which he is only owned in 13.5% of leagues. Like I said, he's picking up the slack from Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Patrick Beverley. So consider Reggie Jackson in your waiver wire streams. Carl, who's your fringe guys?
All right. Number one, we're doing the Pride. We're starting with the Pride of Japan, Rui Hachimura. So I'm a Wizards fan, in case you guys haven't noticed watching this show. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of pain. I've seen a lot of bad basketball, and that's what the Wizards are doing. It's a staple here at this point. My main thing is Rui Hachimura is coming back. I mean, he returned last night, of COVID protocol. Spent 2 weeks dealing with pink eye early in the season. He's an integral part of this team going forward, and you would like to have him on your team right now because he fills a lot of gaps for things the Wizards don't do well at all, and even with him, might just do slightly worse. So it's just on both ends on the floor, like defensive rebounding, offensive rebounding. He's a second and tertiary scorer for the Wizards. Like he is built to have some stretches down the line where he just produces for you in fantasy because someone has to. Even in blowouts, even with terrible basketball, the numbers have to end up adding up. And so someone's got to do it. It's Rui Hachimura.
Yeah. Their upcoming schedule in the next week, they play 4 games: Trailblazers, Heat, and Hornets. Trailblazers have Cantor guarding the paint. Not necessarily a great defender, great rebounder. Not necessarily a great defender though. And then Heat, Bam Adebayo's back. Bam Adebayo's hooping.
Yeah.
A little scary there, but not. Here's what I will say about Bam Adebayo. His defensive stats have not improved from the last year. His offensive stats have, but his defensive stats have actually decreased. And then the Hornets, Cody Zeller.
I'll give you PJ Washington, Cody Zeller, a bit of Miles Bridges, I think.
Yeah, so some favorable matchups there for Rui. If he does have any value, we'll see it this week. This should be a good indicator. And who you got next?
Next, sticking kind of local for me, actually. Shout out Maryland State champion, Northwestern High School, Jeff Green. Jeff Green is owned in 9.4% of leagues. And if anyone is really, we talked about a couple weeks ago, I think, about guys that may have benefited from this trade and the roster basically getting shelled out. Jeff Green. Jeff Green's minutes have seen an uptick since the Harden trade. And so he's had a streak of 9 games of his double-digit scoring, not fantasy scoring, just scoring. So he's shooting 54.7% from the field. So you have efficient scoring, and then also he kind of fills in a lot of those. It's kind of like what's my theme is today is guys who kind of fill in gaps for what teams need is a little bit of rebounding here and there. You know, he'll have to help defend. It's not necessarily an ability thing; it's an opportunity thing when it comes with Jeff Green. And this is the best opportunity he'll have probably through the rest of the season, unless they sign and make some other additions. His role is gonna grow, and this is the time I'd say to nab him. He's only 9.4%.
He also has. Oh, never mind. I thought he was gonna have small forward eligibility, but he doesn't, which kind of sucks. But yeah, he has only 3 games coming up in the next week, and they're against some pretty tough defensive teams. He plays against the Nets play against the Sixers, the Raptors, and somebody else. But if you're looking for a waiver wire pick and need that power forward position filled, Jeff Green could be the guy. I'd probably put him behind some of those guys like Royce O'Neal, like you said, and Roy Hachimura. But he is getting those minutes, and he's playing good basketball. I mean, all of the Nets are. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he does in the coming weeks. But that wraps up our fringe, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope you guys have been listening because we've been providing the good info. We've been given some good waiver wire pickups, excluding Eric Gordon, like I said earlier. But we've been trying to help out the people.